So hi everyone, as Max alluded to, I am the technical director of Hyperloop. So I'm guessing a lot of you have heard about us because we tend to throw our name around quite a bit. So what's really fun is I really get to try and create the impossible every single day. And I feel like that sounds intimidating, but when you really boil it down, it all comes down to 3 really easy to manage steps. So let me talk a bit more about what Hyperloop is for those of you who don't know. Essentially, Hyperloop is trying to build one of the fastest vehicles in the world that can travel in a vacuum. So we're planning on going 300 miles an hour in about 3/4 of a mile, which if you think about it, this is absolutely insane to even think is possible. And if you asked me a year ago what we would be doing this year, I would not possibly be able to tell you that we're going to be going as fast as we are. It's really cool. So what are some challenges of it? That's really small, but one, we travel in a vacuum tube, so that essentially means there is no air. It means we got to go faster, but it also means all our electronics, everything else gets an extra level of complexity. Next, it's really high speed. As I said before, we're going 300 miles an hour in less than a mile. So imagine a drag race to the next level because it's really never been done before, and teams all across the world are working on this right now, and this is sort of like the limit of how fast people can go, and we're right on that cutting edge of feasible. And finally, it's a really short track, so it's less than a mile. It means we have to stop at the end of it because it turns out that people don't like you destroying their multi-million-dollar tube. So it's really important that we also stop, and it just makes everything a lot more difficult as well. One interesting aspect of it is it's all college students. So Hyperloop is really proud of being all undergraduate students, or mostly undergraduate students, which means we don't have a ton of experts telling us what to do. We have to sort of wing it day by day on how we actually get things done, which is really fun and intimidating at the same time. And so now that I'm coming to the end of my time on Hyperloop, I just sort of want to reflect upon that and sort of tell everyone here what are sort of the 3 things you should do to do something impossible like this. So one, I think you have to really start with yourself and know that you have to develop a skill set that is conducive to a team environment and that will help you succeed with your team as well. Second, you need to get a team of people together that are like you, have a great skill set in exactly what you want it to be in, and then you have to all work together and get things done. And finally, you have to keep learning. As mentioned before, there's really just so much to learn out there that there should be no excuse on why you go a single day without learning something new. And you really need to challenge yourself to question things and sort of gather as much information as you can on how to do things. And I lost the slideshow, Max. Let me see if I can go back to it. I don't know what I'm doing. But anyways, so starting with the first concept, I just want to talk a little bit about creating sort of a T skill set. So how many of you have heard of what a T skill set is? Yeah, a few of you. So it's really a concept that I haven't heard of either until a few months ago. I was reading through a slide deck and it came up and I was interested and intrigued by it. Basically what it means is that you have this base, this wide variety of knowledge that you sort of get going through college and through some everyday experiences. This includes things such as like science, physics, 2-lined titles, math, engineering, art, business. All these things come together to form like your base of knowledge and your skill set, so that if I want to talk to a business person, I can actually do that and understand sort of vaguely what they're talking about. If I need to talk to an engineer, I should be good at that, I hope. And then science and physics, just so you can sort of understand some of the problems that people might encounter and how that they can solve them. And then finally, the T part of it is you focus on one area and you really focus on becoming good at it and becoming an expert in your field, essentially. So when I started Hyperloop, I was sort of bouncing around on a bunch of different teams. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do exactly. I was actually on the business side of things for a while, and then I jumped back over to the engineering side. And now today I'm the technical director. After learning from all these different people and what they had to do, I eventually just decided to focus in on simulations. And simulations sort of gave me insight into how everything worked and how it all came together. So I used that knowledge along with my base knowledge to sort of ask questions of people. Just one example I want to sort of give you is when we were first starting out this year, we were wondering how do we go this fast, and I essentially just boiled it down to a problem of Well, you need a certain amount of energy, and you have to carry it all. You have to get it into the track, and you have to go fast, right? Like that's all you have to do. And when I was talking to some electrical people, I was like, well, why don't we just get a really powerful motor and make it go really fast? Like, that's easy enough, right? Turns out it's a lot more difficult than I thought, and he sort of was alluding to that in my conversation with him. And I just didn't know why it was difficult. I couldn't actually say what he was trying to do. So I just went to our supply closet, and I got together a motor controller, some batteries, and I threw it all together. And I'm like, okay, if I can get this thing spinning by the end of the day, we can definitely get this pod to work. So needless to say, it took me well into the night to get it working because I had no idea what I was doing. But eventually I did. I grew my broad skill set to include some electrical engineering now and some programming, some of that stuff. So I later could go back and say, yeah, I see where you're coming from, but I still think it's possible to do because I did it in a day. Like it's definitely feasible for us to do. Next, you have to bring together people that are experts in everything. So like I said before, I'm no expert in electronics, so we have a really, really smart person working on our electronics side of things. So his T and my T are focused in completely different areas, and we can collaborate together because we both know what we're talking about in a broad sense. And that's sort of where that broad skill set comes in. And the more people like this you bring together, the better you'll do, because as much as you'd like to think you know everything, you most definitely do not. So just for example, we've got like a propulsion team lead who knows everything about everything pneumatics-wise. We have a machinist who can machine anything that he wants to, essentially. We have a composites guy that makes these really beautiful composites things. And then we have electronics people over in the corner here working on their stuff. And all these people really have to come together if you want to succeed on creating something impossible. Because while you by yourself may create something insane, you really can't start to tackle impossible challenges until you bring together a group of people. And so the way I like to put it is you're essentially building a puzzle. And every little piece has their own little contribution to this puzzle. And your job as hopefully someone who wants to do something really cool is to sort of see the big picture and where everyone fits in this puzzle, and then try and get those people to work together and really collaborate to build this puzzle. And at least speaking from a personal experience, when I was a team lead, I had no concept of the big, broader picture. I thought I did. I most definitely did not. So as I moved up into more leadership positions, I realized, you know what, like it's really my job is collaborating with everyone and putting these little pieces together, because the people that are really great at like propulsion, they can't do anything without the electrical side of things. So I really take pride in being able to get them to collaborate with others as well. And finally, you need to keep learning. For those of you who know SpaceX, you know what this picture is. They're landing 2 rockets at the same time off of one of their biggest rockets ever. And I really like this because when Elon started, he knew nothing about rockets. He was a physics guy. He got his degree in physics and didn't go to grad school or anything like that. So he basically wanted to put a greenhouse on Mars. He had no idea how to do that. So he goes out, he tries to learn what he's doing, and eventually he manages to do it. Just through reading a lot, just through continually asking people, asking experts on how to do things. And so from personal experiences, this really is important because at least for myself, I hate asking people questions. And then a few months ago, I was reading some research, and it's actually shown that when you ask questions of people, they actually think higher of you. Like, they don't think you're stupid, they think that you're smart for coming and getting advice and learning from what they know. Because you could work on electric motors for 20 years and know everything about them, or you could just ask someone that has and learn what you need to know. So that sort of brings me, oops, too far. There we go. Always ask questions of others because they know more than you. They always know more than you in some things. You can always learn something from them. It might not be exactly what you're interested in, but you can definitely learn and hopefully broaden your skill set. Ask how to improve things. So when you see something like these chairs, you can ask, why are these chairs so, I don't know, this way? If you find something you don't like, you can hopefully try and fix it if you wanted to. Or at least you could learn something about why they're that way, and then you could apply that in other areas of your life as well. And then third, ask why it is how it is, because sometimes people are just like, yeah, cars, they have to exist because we need to get from point A to point B. But if you ask me, I would say, yeah, cars exist because no one's come up with a better idea on how to replace them. Because as cities continue to grow, transportation is going to be a huge issue, just getting in and out of where you need to go. So really you have to just look at it from a step back and say, okay, I have to get people from point A to point B. How do I do that? I would say build a damn Hyperloop. Go really fast, right? So you can definitely improve things if you just ask, well, why does it have to suck to drive everywhere? And so I just want to sort of give you this example. Like imagine a t-shirt, like the t-shirt you're wearing right now, how to get to you. I go through all these other steps to get to you. I mean, is there an area in that where you could improve upon? I mean, this is just a t-shirt. I'm sure you have your other interests, but just think about sort of the entire life cycle of things and ask, is there something better I could be doing here? Is this really the best it could be? And so I just want to leave you with that question in your head to ask, could it be better? T-shirts, obviously, just made up example. But when you see something that you don't quite like, just ask, all right, is this the best it could be? So just to recap, build your T skill set. You really can't do much unless you yourself are really good at what you do. And you really can't do much with other people unless you know at least fundamentally what they're talking about. So make sure you really focus on that. It's possibly one of the most important things you could do, is developing that. Next, you want to build your team. You want to put together all these little puzzle pieces, get people who work together, get people who work together well, and hopefully each of these people have their own little skill sets and you can combine them together to form a really nice picture when you're done. And finally, continue learning, ask questions on how things are done, and see, could this be better? What can I take away from this? Like today, is there anything that could be better about this? And if there is, cool, you have your new next business idea, or at least you have something that you can hack on, right?